Welcome, Hoops fans, to another edition of WABA Whip Around for this July 16th, 2025. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones. And if you are just tuning in for the first time, the WABA Whip Around, it's pretty much a fast paced look at the week in action in the WABA, updates, recaps, previews. As promised from last week's debut show, we are working on getting a lot of players to chime in, market owners, head coaches as well. And as I mentioned, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. You can follow me on all social media accounts at X and IG at RichQNQ, and of course my YouTube channel, Rich Quinones. I've had the pleasure of being the voice of the Louisiana Spice for the 2025 season. We always encourage you guys to get social with us. That is the big thing. I mean, that's if we're going to emphasize and push something, get social with us, the players, the teams, the league at WABA. It's pretty simple to do. You'll see right there, womensaba.com, the YouTube channel. Before we start off any show, we always want to emphasize not only following these teams on their IG accounts, their Facebook accounts, but the most important thing is subscribe to their YouTube channels as they help build up the league, build up their branding, their marketability with their games being aired on their YouTube channels. The more subscribers, the more eyeballs, and it certainly helps the teams going forward. So we've got already 2 weeks in the books, and as I mentioned, it is a fast pace type of season, right? I mean, you turn around, you blink, and all of a sudden we're going to be midway through. Then it's the playoffs, and then you got the championship. And there are a couple storylines that we like to get into right off the bat. Now, we'll go through the slate of games in week 3. We do have some tentative scheduling quirks that we want to get into, and we'll highlight 2 to 3 matchups. We'll also give you my Q's top 5 to wrap things up. But how about this? The Aces, they are getting defensive. The defending champs are 2-0. They've allowed just 55 points per game through 2 weeks. They are a very deep team. We're going to highlight their weekend of play coming up as well. Mississippi Queens, I've had the pleasure of calling both their games to start the season, both wins over the Louisiana Spice. They are going to be a problem. They're 2-0 to start the season. They play extremely physical. They've got this, physicality to them, their style of play. They want to get up and down, and they love to get those fannies on the low block with their bigs. I mean, you look at their roster, you've got 3, 4, 5 players, 5'10" or more, whether it's Williams, whether it's Blunt, whether it's Womack, whether it's Frazier, whether it's Holmes, even Wilson, the guard, who we're going to highlight later on in the program. She's been playing lights out. This is a team that rebounds. As I mentioned, 174 total rebounds in 2 games. You got to be kidding me. I mean, that is just absolutely insane. It really is. I mean, they're playing really, really well. And I think there are some teams that are going to be pushed a little bit this weekend. There's going to be some teams that are very desperate for a win, and we will get into that as well in a moment. All right, so as we kind of look ahead to week 3, Saturday game storylines, you got the Midwest Sound looking to avoid an 0-3 start. The Lady Warcats, they're 1-1. They try to keep pace with the aforementioned Aces with that sharp 2-0 record. The Chaos, I believe they're ready to break through, even though they're 0-3. They take on Carolina. And then you got the I-95 battle, VA and Maryland. Virginia, that got a monumental win to open up their first season in the WABA. And oh, by the way, they did it on the road. We will get into what Virginia's doing as well. So that's kind of our opening tip off. We'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, on the other side, we'll highlight a couple games, as I mentioned. We got some players to watch. We'll go through the schedule. We'll go through the standings. I'll give you the top 5 to close things out. Keep it locked in on this edition of the WABA Whip Around. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. All right, welcome back to the WABA Whip Around. Rich Quinones here, as I mentioned, is a fast-paced look at what's going on in the WABA. Their ninth season tipped off a couple weeks ago and already off to a flying start. We also like to pinpoint and highlight Get Social with Us, the WABA, and the teams respectively. You can see right below. And of course, you can follow me on all social media accounts, and we'll pop that up for a moment or two as we start to look ahead to week 3. You get into the dog days of summer and you start separate yourself, right? I don't want to say the boys to the men, but the girls to the women, right? If we're being honest here, weeks 3, 4, 5, it's almost like that separation. Some of these teams that are winless, they are so desperate for a win, which kind of leads us into some of our storylines, starting with Saturday. As I mentioned, some of the games we want to highlight and document. Midwest Sound look to avoid an 0-3 start when they take on the Steel City Queens. The Queens are 1-0 now. The Sound played much better defensively in week 2. They allowed 104 points in their season opening loss to On Point. They made some adjustments. They allowed just 90 to West Michigan, but they're going to go back. Whether they look at the film or look at the box score, they got to do a much better job from the charity stripe. And a 7-point loss, they went 15 of 24 from the line. That is tough to deal with going forward. Steel City is tough. I believe they only dressed 6 last week, but they had 4 players in double-digit scoring. All right, how about game 2 that we're highlighting? The Lady Warcats, they're going to try to keep up with the defending champ Aces. And the Warcats are 1-0. We know the Aces are looking to move to 3-0. I believe defensively, they're going to have to keep this game right around 95 to 105 points on their defensive end of the floor. It's going to be a challenge to match the Aces bucket for bucket. If they allow, speaking of the Lady Warcats, if they allow 110 to 115, I think Raleig's going to have an opportunity. The Raleigh Aces are going to have an opportunity to run away with this. And I suspect for the Lady Warcats, if available and they play, you are going to have to get, Winston-Salem is going to have to get a big offensive effort from their shooting guards, Sierra York and Annika Jones. York, mentally tough player. She's a D2 product, CIAA conference, played her ball at Livingstone College, finally broke through her junior season, ran that offense as a true point guard, mind you, all conference, double-digit scoring, 21 out of 27 games played. Her senior season, the leadership really came through, guided her squad to a 26-2 mark. So she brings a substantial amount of pedigree and poise on the floor. And then you got Jones, Johnson C. Smith University grad, semi-pro experience already with the Lady Cougars in Atlanta, big-time standout back in her days in Shelby High School, all conference. They can score, and on the defensive end of the floor, the perimeter defense has to be there as a whole for Winston-Salem. They have to, because the Aces shoot around 35-36% from beyond the arc, which is really solid in any league. Edwards has shot 10 of 24 in 2 games. Tamboe, 4 of 9, who was not available in game 2. Grace Hunter, I think, came back with 24 points, 7 of 10 from beyond the arc. So deep, so good. I think you have to keep this within striking distance into the fourth quarter. And I would not be shocked if Winston-Salem tried to face guard and tried to press and try to get some turnovers, and then you've got an opportunity for the 2-3 to 3-4, right, with the red light on to kind of keep things close. The player to watch in this one, L'Oreal Gamble, double-double against Savannah. And oh, by the way, she is the team owner of the Aces, so the leader of many hats on and off the floor. All right, then you have Sunday, Virginia, Maryland. That's an I-95 battle. Maryland slated to play Richmond on Saturday. So logistically speaking, MD's probably, I'm going to assume, will be down in Virginia for 2 days. We just love that traffic on the weekends in the summertime, right? Guys, get on the road early, please, will you? But hey, shout out to Virginia. Down 20, you come roaring back to defeat the Chaos, 66-61, first game ever in the WABA. And oh, by the way, they did it on the road coming from behind. So to me, that's impressive. That is a potentially gut check, tone setter to start the season, build a little confidence, get the community now juiced up and jacked up for the home opener. They're a guard-heavy team. They can slow it down. They can grind it out. And Deja Quick, she's the key to that offense. Her stat line was absurd. 27 points, 5 boards, 5 steals, 3 dimes. Oh, by the way, a couple of 3-pointers and 7 from 11 from the line. And that is an outstanding effort. So those are some of the games we're highlighting and documenting. We'll do a little more of an in-depth preview on Saturday's edition of WABA Whip Around. But what we'll do is we'll take our second time out of the show. When we come back, we'll go through the full slate schedule, the standings, and then we'll close things out with Q's top five. Keep it locked in. This is WABA Whip Around. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Get social with us. Follow the WABA on all social media platforms. And I cannot preface this enough. Please subscribe to all the teams' YouTube channels, respectively. First and foremost, IG and Facebook. I believe secondary. They're building up their following, but you get them on YouTube. That allows them to air a lot of these games as they build up their platform and their subscription based as well. All right, quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. We'll go through the schedule. We'll update the standings for you as well. And then we'll close things out with the top five for week 2. All right, welcome back, everyone, to WABA Whip Around. As I mentioned, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. You can follow me on IG and, of course, on X at Rich Q on Q, TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. Thrilled and honored to be play-by-play voice of Louisiana Spice. And as I mentioned, offering up the services to assist any team this year in the WABA. All right, so let's go through the schedule, if you will. Well, first, let's kind of recap everything that's transpired over the first 2 weeks. And we'll kind of backtrack, if you will, to last weekend. Augusta got the win over the Angels, 96-75. We mentioned the Aces all over Savannah, 155-57. Midwest Sound lose by 7 in a close one against West Michigan Elite Stars. The Lady Wolves putting up 112 in a 112-83 win over Maryland. That game was feisty, very physical. I thought that was an entertaining game. The 2 games lost by the Spice, both versus Mississippi. I want to point out that's a shorthanded squad. They didn't have Deja McKinney for that second contest against Mississippi. Chrissy Brown, Christina Young, Ava Jones, they all stepped up offensively. That's such a guard-heavy team, Louisiana. I know that they want to try to bring in some bigs because they're going to have a hard time matching up with a team like Mississippi or other teams in the division going forward. Second, again, for the Aces over the Chaos, 90-53. That got them to 2-0. We did mention Greensboro. Tough losses, right? I mean, you limit Winston-Salem to 70, but you can't close it out late. They got outscored in the fourth, 21-14, after outscoring the Wildcats 22-7 in the third. They just need a little more balanced scoring because they were behind early in this one, 25-9 after one quarter, but they ultimately fell 70-65. I did mention you the Queens and the Spice. Queens put up 94, did a phenomenal job rebounding. Wilson was just unbelievable, 30-plus points, back-to-back games to start the season for the Queens. Steel City Queens, they got a very nice win over the on-point Swish. Again, defensive standings. I mean, you got to think about it from this standpoint. You can keep teams around 55, 60, 70 points. You have a really good shot at winning. And then, of course, on-point Swish come back. And that was the first game of the season. We're backtracking for a second. And they scored 104 against Midwest Sound. All right, so we look at the schedule, the slate, if you will, starting July 19th, all tentative games. They're pretty much locked in, but you just never know logistically what can happen. Steel City against Midwest Sound. It'll be a 4 p.m. Saturday, July 19th, tip-off. Richmond against Maryland, 2 p.m. start. Winston-Salem versus the Aces, 2 p.m. start. Chaos versus the Lady Cougars, 3 p.m. start. Still no word yet on Louisiana and Savannah. I know they're trying to make it work logistically, so we'll keep you updated on that. That's tentative noon tip-off, going a little old school, which I love. Atlanta against the Mississippi Queens. Queens look to go to 3-0. Early story of the WABA season. That's a 5 p.m. tip-off. And then sandwiched between that, on point against Kalamazoo, tentatively 3:30. 2 games on the docket Sunday, Virginia and Maryland. We mentioned that in that I-95 battle, and then Savannah against Augusta. That Virginia game will be the late start, 7 p.m., and then that Savannah game will have a 4 p.m. start as well. As far as the standings, North lower, Lady Wolves, City Queens 1-0, Virginia 1-0, Richmond 1-0, competitive to start. DC Cyclones of Maryland 0-1, looking for their first wins of the 2025 campaign. South Subdivision 1, Aces 2-0, Lady Cougars 1-0. Lady Warcats 1-1. The Chaos, I believe they're getting ready to break through. They are 0-3. Subdivision 2, Mississippi Queens 2-0. The Hurricanes 1-0. You've got a couple winless teams in the Angels, the Grizz, and of course the Spice. And then Midwest, the West Michigan Elite Stars 1-0, On Point 1-1, and Midwest Sound 0-2. And I also believe they are very, very close to breaking through. It just, sometimes you got to clean things up. And I talk a lot about this during the broadcast and the telecast. It's tough. You want to get a full squad. You want to play with the hand that you've been dealt. And practice time, it's imperative. You need consistency. You need continuity. You need everyone to buy, all in, show up, and get, if you can get 2 days a week, and understanding that a lot of these players, might be working 2-3 jobs, raising families, taking summer classes, going to school. It's tough. It really is. And we always like to give credit where credit is due, and some flowers and shine to these players, because they're trying to make it work, and they're trying to put out a very good product. As we mentioned, this is the WABA Whip Around. Rich Quinones here. It is indeed a very fast-paced look at what's going on in the WABA. We try to highlight a couple of key games. For all the stats, it's pretty simple. You can just check out the WABA online. I mean, it's very, very, very easy to do. All you got to do is put it into the browser, WABA, Women's American Basketball Association, the homepage, and you'll see everything there, which kind of leads us, as we close things out, we are going to give you Q's top 5. Now, remember, these are, as I like to say, ever changing, right? Because we're only 2 weeks in, but obviously you start with number 1. That's the Aces at 2-0. Mississippi Queens 2-0. The Lady Cougars 1-0. Steel City 1-0. They round out number 4, and then Augusta is your top 5 right now. So you got the Aces at 1, the Queens at 2, the Lady Cougars at 3, Steel City at 4, Augusta at 5. And listen, a couple teams go on a run, a couple teams suffer losses. That's, the fluidity of the top 5. It always changes. All right, we start to close out another edition of WABA Whip Around. I want to encourage everyone, please, I cannot state it enough, please follow all these teams on social media. The players doing a good job of marketing and branding the teams, creating these IG, these Facebook pages. Even some of the teams are on X as well. But the main thing is to go to their YouTube channels and to subscribe to their YouTube channels. Again, just go to their channels. You go on, online, YouTube, Google, and then you can check out at, say, the Louisiana Spice, for instance. Check out the WABA page as well. And we typically put that in, as I mentioned, our show notes. When we say get social, you'll see the YouTube link right there. We'll also put it in the body of the description of today's episode as well. So with that being said, that's going to do it for another edition of the WABA Whip Around. Hope you enjoyed a little week 2, kind of a recap from week 1 and 2. And then, of course, a look ahead to week 3 in the WABA. They've tipped off their 9th season, and I'm absolutely honored and humbled to be a part of it in a very, very small way. As I mentioned, you can always get social with me. Very easy to do on IG and X at Rich Q on Q. And of course, on TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. You can follow along on my YouTube channel at Rich Quinones. But first and foremost, I always want to encourage you guys, please, please, please subscribe to the team's channels respectively. That's first and foremost. I'm secondary. Don't worry about me. All right. Have a good Wednesday. Enjoy the slate of games. Any updates, any changes in the schedule, or some breaking news, we'll certainly tweet it out. We'll post it as well on my X and Facebook account. I look forward to being back behind the mic this weekend to call some of the games. And this is, once again, another edition of the WABA Whip Around, hosted by yours truly, myself, Rich Quinones. Again, have a good rest of your week. Be safe and sound. All the teams traveling over the weekend. Show up, sell out, be competitive. We need the communities to come out. We need the home teams to do what they need to do. We need the road teams to get their followers and their peeps following them on these road trips. And wishing all the teams spirited contest, and of course, safe travels and the best of luck. And as always, I will talk to you next time courtside.